The Battle of Agincourt, how England's longbows crushed France. October 25th, 1415. A muddy field in northern France. An English army of perhaps 6,000 to 9,000 men, exhausted, hungry, and weakened by disease, faced a French force several times larger. By the end of the day, thousands of French nobles would lie dead in the mud, and the English longbow would be immortalised as a weapon of legend. The 100 Years' War had already dragged on for decades. Henry V, newly crowned King of England, sought to enforce his claim to the French throne. In 1415, he invaded France, beginning with the siege of Harfleur. Though victorious, the cost was heavy. Many of his men fell sick with dysentery, and supplies ran dangerously low. Henry then marched his army toward the safety of Calais. But the French had assembled a massive force to cut him off. Near the village of Agincourt, the two armies finally met. The English army likely numbered around 6,000 to 9,000 men. The vast majority were longbowmen, supported by fewer than 1,500 men-at-arms. The French host was far larger. Some accounts say 20,000, others claim as many as 30,000 or more. Whatever the exact number, they heavily outnumbered Henry's force. Henry positioned his army carefully. The battlefield was a narrow strip of farmland, hemmed in by woods on both sides. Recent rains had turned the ground into deep mud. This terrain prevented the French from spreading out, funneling their attacks into a deadly bottleneck. To strengthen their position, the English archers drove sharpened wooden stakes into the earth to deter cavalry charges, and then took up their positions. As dawn broke on St. Crispin's Day, the French waited, confident that the English would surrender. Henry, unwilling to let his men starve while standing idle, ordered his archers forward. They advanced, loosed their first volleys, and then fell back behind their stakes. Arrows darkened the sky, horses collapsed, and armoured knights stumbled into the mud. The French could wait no longer. Their men surged forward to attack. The French vanguard pressed toward the English line, but the mud slowed them to a crawl. Their formations bunched together, crushed by their own numbers. Under relentless arrow fire, men fell, and horses crashed into one another. When the French finally reached the English line, they were already exhausted. The English men-at-arms counterattacked, and even archers abandoned their bows to join the melee with axes, hammers and knives. Wave after wave of French men-at-arms attempted to push through, but the field was too narrow and too choked with bodies. Many, suffocated or drowned in the mud, crushed by their own comrades. When the fighting ended, the devastation was clear. Modern estimates suggest that 6,000 to 10,000 French were killed, including much of the high nobility, the Constable of France, 3 dukes, and numerous counts. English losses were far lighter, perhaps a few hundred. The scale of the victory shocked Europe. Against overwhelming odds, Henry V had secured one of the most famous triumphs in English history. The victory at Agincourt cemented Henry's reputation as a warrior king and ensured that the longbow's place in military history would never be forgotten. Centuries later, Shakespeare would immortalise the moment in Henry V, giving us the legendary words, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers." The Battle of Agincourt is remembered not only as a triumph of courage and discipline, but also as a lesson in strategy, how terrain, preparation and tactics could overcome overwhelming numbers. It remains one of the most studied battles in history.